There we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jonathan from By the Sword, and we're going to have a fun time this evening, I believe. We are going to be talking about backyard cutting, and I have an amazing plethora of guests with me today. First off, in no particular order, I think I'm going to do it by the order of the people said yes, they joined me. And that's crazy because I can't believe they said they'd be willing to join me. But we have Tempest from Tempest Blade Argus, his YouTube channel. You can check out his stuff. There will be links in the description below. This dude does some of the most amazing static cuts I've seen. How are you, my friend?
Pretty good.
Excellent. Yeah, no, I think you were probably one of the first backyard cutter channels I started to follow. And it was really cool because then by watching you, you started highlighting other people, and I found a whole bunch of other people that I'm now also able to follow. So that's really, really cool. Next up, we have Luke of Emblem Blades. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, wonderful. Luke is an awesome guy as well. He has this really cool thing where you've written, is it 2 different picture books for swords?
Oh, right? Yeah. I have 3 kids. They're all kind of young, and so after the first one, I got tired of reading Brown Bear over and over again, and so I looked for like more books that I was going to be interested in, which involved swords, and so I looked around. I just didn't see any, so I was like, I'm going to make my own then, and so I did. Yeah, and they're on Amazon if people want to look at them. But yeah,
actually, one of my favorite books, which is really, really funny. It's like an adult picture book for me. It is a book sitting right over, literally called Swords by an author. I think the name is Ben Booz. I think who it is. And why I like it so much is some of the artistic drawings he put into it and trying to show different swords from different cultures and different time periods. It's really cool book, and some of the art is stellar, and I really, really like that. So that's awesome. Awesome. Glad to have you on board. We might have to talk about your Type 18Cs. You did a video on those earlier. You have like, what, 3 of them now?
Yeah, I do.
That's not enough 18Cs if you ask me. I feel like
I know. I actually have another one coming in the mail. So
nice. Next up, we have Alex of Gargoyle's Blade. This guy has some of the sickest reverse grip cuts I've seen, and I tried to duplicate it, and there's a reason why you've not seen it. Is because I suck at it, and he puts me to shame. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm doing pretty good, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much for joining. If people in chat do have questions for any of my co-hosts or any cool things, they can do so. I'll be monitoring that throughout this stream. So if you got questions or you want to ask something, that's cool. We're going to go around and just kind of talk about what kind of got us into swords. If we have any favorite swords, I have a couple laying over here, and I know some of my guests here also do, and any fun stories, and maybe even some tips if we have for people who are interested in getting into the hobby. Who wants to volunteer to be the first person on deck? Anyone? Anyone at all? No.
I mean, we could just go in the same order you introduced us in.
I can. I absolutely. That would probably be the better option and the smarter option too. So Tempest, why don't you tell us a little bit about what got you into swords in general?
Oh yeah, I was on a previous podcast with him, so he probably already. Alex, but basically it was Star Wars. So I watched like I think it was Return of the Jedi when I was really little, and then I basically didn't know that all swords don't actually act like that because 6 years old, and they're like, yeah, we're not gonna let you I'm not gonna let you hang around with a butter knife, let alone with a sword. That's what my dad said. So once I got of age, I was like, okay, I really want to learn some swordsmanship stuff, and then it's like from there I basically got into like what inspired them, which was the samurai stuff. Then that eventually led me dabbling into some other martial arts, and now I'm like mostly HEMA and stuff, and I'm really focusing on that, like my channel a lot more, like trying to Well, I do like a lot of weapons, but I was like, I need to focus on one or try to like focus a little bit more on it. So I wanted to get better at longsword this year. And the goal on my channel is to always try to show people like some new cuts when I can learn them.
I will be the first to say that I don't even want to say like I try to be subtle about it. I steal a lot of his cuts. I watch him do his different cuts and go, I wonder if I can do that. And then I put down, like a subpar version of what he does. So you should check out. A lot of his shorts are fantastic. So it's great. Awesome. How about we go? Luke, what about you?
Yeah, so yeah, actually something similar to Tempest. I also really enjoyed Star Wars when I was a kid, and so I wanted to go out and try and do that. So I actually got into gymnastics when I was a lot younger because I was like I'm gonna be a Jedi, and then I found out you couldn't do that. I was real bummed. But then Lord of the Rings came around, and I felt like for me that was the first time I saw European swords shown in like a cool way, and the What a Workshop did such a good job making those so detailed and so beautiful. It's like, oh, I really want to get one of those. So I think when I was like maybe like 10 or 11, like around there, I started like mowing people's lawns so I could save up enough money to get one of the replicas from United Cutlery. And so then I bought one. And then at some point later, I realized like, oh, this is not a real sword. It's this is just like a decoration piece. And so then I was like, okay, well, what is a real sword like? So then I went on like a deep dive. And at the time, I felt like it was really hard to learn about swords. There just wasn't as much information available. And so it was for me, it felt like a long process of figuring out like what was a real sword, what was it supposed to feel like. And I got like a bunch of like wall hangers and like maul swords in the process. And then I learned about like, oh, okay, what is a tang and what is tempered steel and what's the difference between spring steel, and like started learning all these different things. And so yeah, it's been fun to learn. I feel like learning about swords has helped me learn about like history and all sorts of different cultures and appreciate kind of where we've come from and what other cultures have to offer. And yeah, so I don't know, it started off as something that I thought was cool, but I don't know, I feel like it's taught me a lot more than that. And it's also been fun to get to know other people who share the same interest, and there's also like a sense of community in it. And so I don't know, it's been a fun journey all around.
Nice. I'm glad you mentioned Lord of the Rings, because that we're starting to get more into my. I actually wish I would have thought about. I have 2 of the United Cutlery wall hangers. I have Glamdring and I have Hadafang, which is Arwen's sword, which actually was Elrond's sword before that. But yes, those are the 2 that I have. Those were the first ones that I got into. And it's funny you mentioned. I remember going to a blade and knife show close to where I live before not knowing anything about metal and talking about 440 stainless like it was a big deal, and the guy's like, any one of these could cut through that, like, paper, I'm like, oh, 440 stainless is supposed to be really hard, it's a good sword. And the guy's like, no, it's one of these guys again.
Rite of passage.
No, embarrassment. Absolutely embarrassment. Alex, what about you?
Oh God, let's see. I gotta say Star Wars for sure. And there was a movie in the 80s, actually really early 80s. This is when the ninja movies were starting up, we've all seen it.
Yeah.
But it was called Ghost Warrior, where it was actually about Japanese samurai brought back to life in modern time. It was actually a really cool movie. A lot of people haven't seen that movie.
I'm going to date myself. I've seen it.
Have you?
Yes, I have. I know exactly which one you're talking about.
It's kind of sad too, but yeah. And I always felt a draw to like Japanese culture.
Mm-hmm.
So when like all of us were trying to find the real deal, and it was actually really hard, especially in the 80s, to find anything that was real that wasn't a wall hanger. I think we all have them. I have some, And then my first time I ever got to use a sword was a fencing foil in college, and I took that for 2 years, and that really taught me a lot on the functions of a sword. Because if you kind of look at European and Japanese, the styles are almost the same. The movements are the same because we can only move a certain way. So, but yeah, I was thrilled when I was able to take it for like 2 years, a beginner's and advanced course. And then my love of my life, my wife bought me my very first functional sword, which I still have today.
That's a keeper right there, just hands
Yeah.
down.
It's almost 20 years old, and
Nice.
it's still in great shape.
Nice. That's awesome. No, it's always good when the spouse, significant other is willing to, I would say willing to enable, but I was going to say tolerate in some cases. 'Cause sometimes it's toleration that's there, but when they enable, it's just like, my goodness, this is the best thing ever. So that's fantastic.
Oh, she's got her own too.
Oh, very nice.
She loves the naginata.
Really?
Yeah, she's got 2 of them.
Yeah, the CEO of like Albion Company was like a lady.
Mm-hmm.
Like she like researched that and like figured out how to make the best swords, albeit the most expensive.
You mean like this one right here? This is my Albion Mercenary that I have in play. This one, I love this sword in general, and the work that they put into these is absolutely stellar. And I know a lot of the Generation 2 comes from the work of Peter Johnson. I had the pleasure of speaking to him a few weeks ago. He's a wonderful, wonderful gentleman. So yeah, I love using these swords. Albeit surprisingly, I have one I'll show in a little bit that I was amazed at. I just got this one, and it's a Valiant Armory Valor. This is the lightest sword I have ever held in my entire life. It is crazy. Like, this entire thing maybe is 2.5, with the scabbard is like 2.5 pounds, and it's a Type 20A, so it's not a thin sword. It's pretty thick.
Yeah.
Is that the one you just got too?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Now, as for me, and I showed this to some of the guys on the call, but for those who don't, my first sword I ever got, I brought this, is what got me into swords a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, since I have a lot of Star Wars fans here. This was my first sword that I ever got. This is a wooden sword that my dad made for me when I was 5 years old because I just wanted swords. So now my son has it, but this is the very first sword that I ever got. And that's what kind of started my love of swords, was this little wooden sword, going out with my cousins and beating each other senseless with them. It was fantastic.
Family heirloom. Let's save the world one day.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think my first real sword, we talked about this in the pre-show. I brought this one over here. This was probably the first real one that I bought. And this is the Cold Steel O-Katana, the very large one. And now that I have different swords, this one I don't like as much. It is way too heavy. The saw is way too small for how long of a sword it is, in my opinion anyway. I like a longer grip, and this thing is like 9 inches. It's really, really small. But this was one of the first real swords, and I'm almost embarrassed to say why I got it. Can anyone here, Tempest might know, why a guy would want the longest katana possible, and what would inspire him to do such a thing? Any idea whatsoever?
Anime.
Close. Final Fantasy VII and Sephiroth was my hero, and therefore I wanted the longest katana in existence. Because, of course, I was in love with that character from the video game, and then when I got one and went, this thing is really unwieldy, and now I realize why no one really wanted to use these. So that's one of the first swords that I got. I started out in Japanese martial arts doing kendo and judo. Those were the two that I started in college in my 20s, and now close to 20 years later I do mostly European martial arts, focusing on German longsword, because German longsword is clearly superior, and Viorist are not even really humans, so there you go. So that's, I love messing with Viorist. Anytime I see him, I'm like, oh, that's so nice, so sweet that that's what you're trying.
I love messing with us.
Yes, exactly. I love my German longsword, so that's generally what I've been dealing with more so than others. I still enjoy cutting with my katana. I really do. It's a lot of fun. It's very, very elegant. And the movements, like Alex, you said, they're very similar. There's a lot that kind of mix between the two. Things that I learned during my kendo classes sort of fit in with a lot of what I do in German longsword, with a few exceptions, especially revolving around utilizing the false edge, which is something that you don't really get to do so much with Japanese swords. But that's kind of where I'm at. So let's go ahead and let's talk about our favorite swords now. We'll go around the same way we did. Tempest, why don't you go ahead and start us off? Do you have any favorites that you got?
Yeah, I got my Tinker Pierce right here. It's probably the one that you see in like most of my videos lately. It's like the first longsword that I ever got, and then I basically like started modifying it because it's basically like a budget longsword, but I like what I was seeing. So it has like the hex nut. I don't know if you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but which basically makes it so that you can take the pommel off and everything, and it's like pretty much easy maintenance. So I don't have to worry about something corroding on the inside of there. Then from one of the reviews, I think it was Scalagram that I watched, he said like eventually the leather was gonna break down, and so I was like prepared for that. So I got like some hemp cord, basically kind of made a little bit of a groove in around one point and basically like tied it up there, and basically did some epoxy. It's like the most sturdy. Ironically, it's like probably the most sturdy and one of the most comfortable grips I've ever had. I like sharpen it every now and again. Like basically, every time I try to learn a new cut or like practice something I already got, it's like from Lichtenauer style.
Mm-hmm.
It basically just seems to go and mesh pretty well. Like I've been doing flow drills. I feel I love it.
I find that the way that the crossguard fits really works well with thumbing the grip. There's so many European swords where they try to embellish this section so much that makes it really uncomfortable to use. And obviously one of my favorite strikes is this Verkaus, so of course you got to thumb the blade and pull that over. So
SwordTubers.
yes, Verkopter. Yeah, that's me. I'm fine with that. So no, I have the exact same one you do, and every time I see you cut with it, I just look at you and go, I wish mine worked so well. Mine is so dull out of the box. It was terrible. And I think I even showed in one of the shorts where I don't know if it's a heat treatment issue, and it's probably way too small to even see on here, but I was trying to strike just a standard, I shouldn't say standard water bottle. It was a 20-ounce soda bottle, which are pretty tough, right? They got pretty thick leather, or not leather, plastic. So they can be a little tough to cut through. And I feel like somewhere along here, I got a bit of a deformation right along here from striking a water bottle. And I thought that was a little bit of an issue. Now, again, it could just be the heat treatment on this one particular sword. Yeah. But that disappointed me. It really did. And
yeah. But mine, I got like the sharpening service pretty much like when I got, because like I did about like 2 weeks worth of research before I got it. I was like, thus far, this is the most money I've ever spent on a sword, so I want to be sure like it's gonna work out. So they were just like, it's just $20 for the sharpening service, and I'm like, okay. Then I like bought like a whetstone every now, because like the dullness that you were talking about, like, well, I don't have any deformations or like edge rolling and everything. It did get pretty dull at one point, and so I'm like, okay, this is gonna require like a whetstone. And I'm like, the swords, like I get people like seeing like when I cut through the cans and everything, they're like, man, your swords are gonna get scratches and stuff. And I'm like, dude, they used to use these things to cut through people's heads.
Right. Yeah, you'll get the sword that I bought earlier, the Valiant Armory. I bought that secondhand, and I wasn't too concerned. The guy who was selling it, he took great pictures of it and everything. And he's like, well, there are some surface abrasions. I'm like, I'm going to use it anyway. I don't care. It's going to happen.
Yeah, eventually it's going to.
Yeah.
It's a tool, man.
If it's not a crack, like a critical crack through the blade, surface scratches, Yeah, you're not going to get away from that unless you never use a sword in the first place. There's no way around it. So that's how I feel about it. How do you feel about the hex nut construction? Like you said, you really like this.
Yeah.
I've
I
not
mean,
used this one, and this is for everyone in the cast. Anyone who wants to talk about this, they can. I have another sword. It's a Honshu. I'm not going to grab it because I hate it. It doesn't deserve screen time. That's how much I hate it.
they get everybody.
Oh, don't get me started on Honshu.
Yeah, exactly.
They're pretty much like around the Bud K level of reputation. Like I almost never hear anything good about them.
I swung this sword, and it is loose. Not this one, the Honshu one. I have taken an Allen wrench, and I mean, I white knuckle tighten this, and there's still rattle. Nothing I do seems to tighten that sword down, and that very well could be that one. Have you experienced that with your tinker?
Like if I like hit something really hard, because there was like I'll admit that I did like something stupid one time, because like this dude just kept on getting in my comments. He's like, "Man, I want you to cut your tree branch," and then he kept on coming back. So I'm like, whatever. Because at first I thought he was gonna be like leave 2 comments, and I'm like, okay, I'll never see you again, so it's whatever. And then like the dude started camping out. He's like, okay. So I just like did it, and then like it kind of like rattled a little bit, but like basically you tighten it up and everything. So it's like with maintenance and all that. So I mean, it's not like really super bad. Like after you like tighten it up, it usually gets pretty tight. But like I just check on it every now and again.
Right. Anyone else have experience with any hex nut constructions for swords?
I mean, I've seen other people use the Tinker Pierce sword and have it break on them. So I've seen 2 of them break, I think. So I never bought one of my own just because I've seen a couple of them break, and I was like, no, I'm probably just gonna stay away from that. But from what I remember, the edges were too square, not rounded. So hopefully they fix that.
Right here, it would snap. And in fact, one of my favorite videos, if you guys get a chance, I'll have to provide you guys links on it. But they're a Polish fencing school, which, by the way, the #1 ranked HEMA fencer in the world is from that school. If you check out HEMA ratings,
I thought it was Martin Fabian, right? He's a longsword guy, right?
Yeah, he's a longsword. I'd have to look. Unless he dropped the HEMA ratings guy, he's from this academia. I can't pronounce it because it's Polish, but starts with an S. They have a YouTube channel, and they did a short film. It's 5 series, and they talk about you got to give them you got to give some grace because they do it all from Flore. I try to overlook that, but
wait, the Academy something. It's something that I can't pronounce, but he did like a ton of videos.
Yeah.
He had like a bunch of illustrations from like the Flowers of Battle.
Yes, correct. And then they show the different plays of the sword. But in one of the final one that they called The Courage, it was supposed to be a short film where they were fighting with the sword. And they were using a Tinker Pierce sword, but they got the blunt versions, which are made the same way. They just don't put the edge bevel on. And
yeah, with the blunt version, you like that's intended for sparring. So like I think the cutting ones are okay because you can basically choose what you cut. Like when you like spar, then the person basically sets the pace for like how much they want to do it. So it's like basically with the way that they got like I think this part around here built.
Right.
It's kind of like a weak point. So.
It happened in a few other places too, but it's really funny in their video because he went to parry something and the sword literally snapped. And they did like a behind the scenes of this. They're like, that was not intended. We were all shocked, but they rolled with it and made it look like it was intended.
Yeah.
But I know Mr. Pierce, when he found out that this was snapping, he had a few not so nice words to say to the company that made this, going, no, that's not acceptable to have it snap specifically right here. So I think newer versions are fixed, but I wouldn't be concerned if you're getting that.
I heard that like Paul Chen like basically retired or something because like I was looking for like a replacement blade for this one and they like had stopped selling them or something.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Paul Chen or is it Cass Hanway. One of them literally just got sold out, or they shut down. Another person is taking up and picking up many of their stock pieces.
Yeah, it's Dragon King.
Dragon King. Oh, that'd be awesome because Dragon King makes some really good stuff too. I think I just saw. Shout out to Space Ghost. I know most of us follow him. If you don't, you should. He's fantastic. He just did a YouTube post about Dragon King picking up a specific model of katana that he is in love with, and I guess they're doing it in a new format. So yeah, Dragon King's picking that up.
Dragon King picked up Hanwei. They're gonna reproduce some of the Hanwei line.
That would be great. One of the Hanwei lines that I'm really sad is going. I don't know if it's being picked up, but it's the Kingston Arms for the European swords because Angus Trim did a collab with them, and some of his designs are in the Kingston Arms line. And if you know anything about European swords, Angus Trim is fantastic with his swords. So
I want one of those one day.
Yeah, I shamelessly stalk him on Facebook like crazy, waiting for him to put up one of his swords, but it's really hard to get my hands on those. So, yeah, cool. All right, Luke, what about you? Do you have any particular fun favorite swords that you like using for backyard cutting?
So the first like high carbon steel sharp sword I ever bought was also a cold steel, but it was the cold steel hand and a half sword. And I do still have that. It's not, I don't have it with me here, but I occasionally will still cut with it because I don't know, it's just fun and kind of nostalgic, like my first real sword. Definitely not my favorite one, but it's still fun. And I think it's still, at the time, it was probably one of the better budget ones you could get, 15, 20 years ago, however long ago that was. But now there's just so many good budget options to get into. One I really like for a different reason is this one right here. So this is the Ronin Katana functional Aragorn sword, and I honestly, this is my favorite because it just made me feel like I was 11 or 12 again, where I was like, oh my gosh, I've waited so long to get a functional Lord of the Rings version of these. And I know that Dark Sword Armory made a version, but I just didn't like the way it looked, and on all the reviews I saw, it seemed like it didn't come super sharp, or that the blade geometry wasn't quite right, or it was too heavy. And so I was like, okay, I don't want that. But so I got this one, and this one is, the balance on this one is great. It came sharp. It's super light, easy to use in one hand or two. So this has been really fun to use. And to me, it was just like, I don't know, it just brought me back to my inner child, where I was like, yes, I could go pretend to be Aragorn and chop up some orcs or something like that. So that one I thought was really fun.
I do have a question about that one. We actually have a question in chat too, which we'll get to. I see that. I will get to it. Question about the Tinker Long Pierce sword. How is the handle grip on those particular swords? Because one of the problems with Weta, and I love Weta, don't get me wrong, I love their designs, but when they made European swords, I'm sure any of us who were alive in the 80s understand that a lot of European swords, most people didn't know how they were made, and they made very round handles. Almost all of them had round handles, and it was terrible. And that's, I think, what really made a lot of people not like European swords back in the 80s, early 90s, is they really were not much more than wall hangers. The grips were terrible. You couldn't get good edge alignment because it was like holding a broom handle. How did they do with the handle on that?
Yeah, not sure if you guys can see, but you can, for me, I have no problem indexing the edge. Mm-hmm. So you can see that it's circular, but it's not, I guess I would call it more like an oval. Like, you can definitely feel where the edge is on it. And for me, it's pretty comfortable. This stitching here is interesting, one of the roughest I've ever felt. So you can definitely feel the stitching. But I know it doesn't really bother me that much. The ring here is really interesting. I think the only reason that they put this was because, from what I recall, Peter Jackson wanted to have like a sense that the ring was ever present. So he would put like ring shaped things on all sorts of their equipment, just to so you could still feel the presence of a ring. But it's pretty comfortable. It doesn't move around. I've cut with this a few times. I haven't cut with it that much, to be fair, because I kind of want to keep it nice, just because I like the way it looks. This one for me, it is kind of like a decoration for me, but it's a functional decoration, if that makes sense. But both of these, you can, I don't know if you can see this one, but both of them you can see the edge. Oop, just bumped the microphone. You can feel the edge pretty well, and you can see that it's not circular. So, and then this one, I don't love the fact that they have these screws here, but I imagine this is going to be pretty sturdy.
Right. Cool. No, absolutely. We do have one question in chat saying, would you recommend the Tinker Longsword? They've seen it, but they haven't bought it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I thought Alex was about to say something.
Oh, Alex, do you have anything you want to say on that, or we're bypassing that one? Nah. Don't worry. We're gonna get to katanas, my friend. I have them right here. I understand.
It was like an entry sword, I guess, because this was like my first one. So I'm like, it was kind of like my gateway drug. So it was like really more give me like used to, because like this was like the first one. It's not my first sword, but it's like my first long sword.
Right.
So like I had only ever like wielded like katanas, like so this one had like some weight that took some getting used to, which is actually not a bad weight at all, especially after I got like the cold steel like master sword. I was like, yeah, I really didn't realize what I had with this. But
it's true, actually, because I like the way it feels. The balance is fantastic on it. And to be honest, I didn't think I was going to like the handle at first because it's an odd shape. It almost looks like rectangular in its shape with rounded edges. But the way that it sits in your hand actually feels better than what it looks like it would when you first pick it up. So yeah. I'm torn on this one. I want to say yes because it is one of those swords. If you get it, I don't think you will regret the decision, but
you'll either like it or it'll probably grow on you.
Yeah, I really don't think it would be bad. One of the problems that I have with the Tinker Pierce is if you look at other people, they seem to have really iffy quality control. You may get Excalibur of a sword, or you may get one like I did that rolled on a water bottle, which really disappointed me. It's really hit or miss with the Tinker Pierce long swords, and it's really sad. I do think if you especially get it from somewhere like Cult of Athena,
that's what I got mine,
or Swordist or something like that, one of those resellers, if you literally took the sword and got a roll in it, they would likely take care of you. They would refund you, send it back. Like they seem to be both really good companies that would take care of you in those particular cases. Problem is that sword came out like 15 years ago when there were so few options. There are a lot better options now in the European sword field.
That's pretty much what Cold Steel was doing. Like I saw like their version of a Mesa, and then I saw like the historical example, and I'm like, man, this is way off. Like, so they were like, how many different replicas like Mesas do they have to get here? Yeah. Oh, this is the only one. That's why they're making bank.
I think a lot of us started with Cold Steel because if you're at all refined, aged like myself, there weren't a lot of options back in the day for good quality swords, and Cold Steel is one of the first of jumping into, I guess, mainstream, like, hey, check this out.
Yeah.
But now they have a reputation for very overbuilt swords. I don't think they'll fall apart on you, but they're overbuilt compared to what a real samurai katana would feel like, or even a European swords. I wouldn't even touch some of theirs. So, yeah.
I guess it's kind of like European longsword, particularly like Lichtenauer.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you get like a decently balanced blade, then you can have like a counter for a counter. Then with like Japanese swords, it's usually more like a dedicated cutting style. Now, like it's not supposed to be that with like every sword you make, but with Cold Steel, it's pretty much like the weight on this is gonna make it like you gotta hit this so you can forget about it.
This Ogatana is definitely a once and done kind of boy. You better hope you get your target the first one because you ain't recovering with this one. Yeah.
Why is he moving in slow motion?
Threw my shoulder out trying to use it. That's the problem. Alex, my friend, what do you got for us?
Well, I have so many like swords I love, that it's hard to choose. But the one I would say that right now for like one of my best like grips and everything would be one from Sawadi with that Jabra Maki wrap. These things are so comfortable in the hand.
If you have not seen it yet, go to his channel. This is the one you just released, right? The mystery sword one.
Yeah, it's actually here. I'll get that when I have it.
I'm trying to pimp the channel the right way. But yes,
Right
if you go check out his channel, he did a full thing on this sword. It is gorgeous.
Now, I haven't got to play with this one too much, but the green one, the Dragonfly, God, I love that thing. Like I said, the handle is phenomenal. Like most people with Japanese swords, they complain about sometimes where the Minuki is the knot's too high, so it goes into your hand and whatever. But with these, I mean, there's the Minuki. I mean, it barely protrudes up. I mean, it just sits flat, and it's got a nice wide oval shape to the handles.
What are the Minuki that are in there?
They handle great.
Yeah.
Little on the heavy side. They're like 2 pounds, 6 ounces, these swords. So to do doubles, it takes a little feat to do doubles. I've noticed with these, you got to be real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I love Sawadi, and I've never had a problem with those wraps ever coming loose. My first sword, that one I really like. I don't use it because they don't make it anymore, and that was from Musashi. They actually produced it when the movie Last Samurai came out in 1060, and then it was for a limited time, and then they switched them to 1045, and now the 1045 stock is running out. So I have one of the first originals that was in 1060. That's the sword my wife got me. And at the time when that thing came out, it was expensive, and she got lucky. It was on sale because they were trying to get rid of the 1060 stock to introduce the 1045s.
Why did they switch from 1060 to 1045? Do you know?
Probably it's cheaper.
Yeah, it's right. A lot of sword companies will do that limited time type issuing, especially if it's based off a movie or something, and they'll just make it have a cheaper, or I shouldn't say cheap, a lower quality metal because it's less expensive for them to keep producing, especially for a limited time thing.
Right. Yeah, I don't know about the metallurgical properties of 1045, but I don't think the edge retention is quite as good.
Well, it depends. 1060, the edge retention won't last as long because you can only through harden those. You can differentially harden them, but it's very, very tricky and it can be problematic. 1065 is way better to do. Where 1045 comes into play, you can actually differentially harden 1045 and it won't hurt it. So it will hold an edge maybe a little bit longer than 1060, but not that much because, well, all has it based on how much carbon is in it. So that's why like 1095 T10s, they retain their tensions, the edge retention so much more because the carbon is a lot higher in those. So that they can harden it a lot more. Whereas 1045, you can only harden it to a certain point.
I actually have a question. I know I set my own guidelines of how this thing's going to go, but you're going to learn I kind of go off track a lot. I got a question for you specifically because you like doing a lot of Japanese martial arts. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and I've asked this of, I can't remember. He's drawing my blank right now. The owner of RVA Katana as well. I don't know if you follow them. Yeah. I'm going to go down and visit their store. They're like 5 hours from me. I'm going down, and I'm going to visit them one of these days. So this is going to be great. I like going to their stores and seeing all what they have and trying to support those guys. The question between differential hardening versus through hardening for Japanese katana, and the reason why I say that is the or why I just drew a blank on the entire thing. Oh my goodness. Differential hardening. Hardening being more traditional and fitting the way the swords were made versus thorough hardening and using a monosteel. Do you think that using a monosteel sword, while it's more forgiving in the cut, teaches bad habits for someone who is doing Japanese martial arts? Because you can bend a differential hardening if your edge alignment's off or you hit a hard target.
I would say yes and no, because it also depends on what it's made out of. Like, I would suggest anybody, if you're just starting out, never cut with a sword before, get a 1060. One, they don't break your bank so much, and they flex more. They're a little bit more forgiving. They won't take a set as bad as like 1095. Or a spring steel, because you can't differentially harden spring steel. Nope. It'll snap in half. So it's like, it kind of depends, but you'll know, like 1060, you can put a set in it if it's bad enough, and you'll know, like right now, it'll take a set sometimes bad, more so than like a 1095. That's differentially hardened. With my experience, I've never put a set in one of my swords, but anything like with a differentially hardened edge, if you're a beginner and you do a really bad cut, you're chipping that edge like right now, or you're rolling it. So it like I said, it's kind of a tricky question to come up. I always suggest to anybody though who's just starting out, like I said, never use a sword, get a 1060 or 9260 spring steel blade until you can actually learn. That way, if you do a bad cut, you're not out together. Yep, there you go.
This is a differentially hardened. I got a bad cut. You could see that roll.
And the other thing where it's like, that's another like thing. If you don't know, like some companies will sharpen the blades heck like a razor, and it's differentially hardened. Here's the problem: you've taken the structure out of that edge. Yeah. So if you definitely do just a light back cut, you're potentially chipping the heck out of it. Yep. And a sword really does not need to be that sharp. No. Because if you switch up, like I'm growing bamboo, so I'm planning on, when I can, cutting bamboo. So if I have a razor's edge on that, it's going to decimate that edge. You need to find that happy medium. Now, if you're doing pool noodles, that's different.
The edge bevel really comes into that as well. If your edge bevel, if you got more of like an apple-seeded edge, or a little bit more, in Japanese terms, a little bit more niku, with a little thickness in the edge, you're a little, which is why I prefer to use my old pine. This doesn't have quite that. Well, this is a Shingo Shikuri, I think it is. Is that the term? The more traditional Edo period blade type. This is a shobu, which is that iris leaf. I love this thing for cutting.
I love shobus.
Oh, which is why it hurts so much to see that chip in it. But that is such a razor edge because of how they design it. That, yeah, if you're not perfect with that edge alignment, you will roll, you will chip like I did. This one, because it's got that extra niku in it, I have no problem hitting harder targets. Even, you still have to be careful. It's differential hardened, so if I'm bad enough, you can get a set in it. But I'm more comfortable with this sword than I am with my shobu. But I'm so sad about that shobu set.
Yeah, I've been fortunate. Like these Sawadis I bought, because we bought 4. The one I just got, we got for our son like 2 years ago, and I liked it, so I got it for me. But they're a beast. They are a thick blade. They have a nice distal taper, but man, everything I throw at it, it just blows right through it.
Is there a particular, again, from speaking with Japanese swords, is there like you said, shobu you really like? Is there a particular brand or, I guess, blade typology that you like to use more than others?
Well, shobu is if the shobu is actually done like a shobu should be done. I actually have one. Well, kind of. It doesn't have the iris tip. That's another story. But with a shobu, a real shobu, because having the iris tip doesn't make it a real shobu.
Mm-hmm.
The back shinogi here, because it's got a shinogi line, is inverted upward.
Yep.
So it makes a pyramid. And the reason why they did that was you don't get a drag as you're cutting.
Mine's shallower, but it does the same thing. You see?
Yeah, and that's the traditional shobu way. So it's like, it looks like that, the blade, kind of, from the top down. And like I said, they did that so that back shinogi line, the ridge line, creates a drag in your cut.
Mm-hmm.
That's why shinogis, you'll feel a drag through it. That's that shinogi line there. You'll feel a drag. So they inverted it so you don't get that drag. It's almost crossed. You could say that's like the point of thinning out the back of a unakubi. You don't get a drag.
Is that the Cormant neck one? The one that's traditionally
Yes.
called? That's the one I was going to say is my favorite because I have one right here, which as you can see has a normal, what looks like a normal spine, but it goes down into that
thinned out
cormorant.
Yep.
This thing, just sails through targets.
Now the difference is like with the shobu, they're beefier blades.
Mm-hmm.
So they could take more of a beating than like an unakubi could. And that was the whole point of it during the feudal times when they invented them, is they wanted something with less drag, but could take the beating. And shinogis, that's why they keep making them. They can take a beating because they have a lot of structure behind it. Now, I don't have it down with me, but my most prized possession that I have, that I love, and I take it out every now and then and cut with it, is my kugurasu.
Yeah.
And that's a double-edged katana. I love that thing. Not a lot of people have them. Those are lighter than an unakubi. And you hit a bottle like that, and it just sails right through it.
I've seen those, and oh my goodness. Since you said that, again, I'm going shout out to RVA Katana again. They were pulling out all those swords, and they were, of course, talking about the historical term that's used. And they're like, no, none of these are actually this. But, those double-edged ones, I want to get my hand on one so bad. And there's also...
tricky to resheath.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah, there's... I'm used to it with European swords. I think all...
and that's the thing, like, because the three of you guys use European swords.
Yeah.
So you look down when you resheath.
Yeah.
In Japanese style, you don't look.
Yeah.
You don't look because you're still alert. But there is, I actually did a video that a way that you can resheath it without having to look down. And basically you pinch the very tip of the blade and you just start bringing it down to your hand. Your fingers cup the saya and drop it in, and then just move your hand and resheath it. It's a tricky one. You got to practice it.
I think I've done like some, because like every time you like sheath it, you like pinch the blade, and then you kind of like have your like this part of your finger and then your thumb on the like the back of the blade, and then you feel on the edge.
Normally what you would do when you resheath is your hands like that.
Yeah.
And then you run it down until it drops down into it.
It would be difficult.
But with the kugurasu, you couldn't do that.
Well, you can, but you might not have fingers anymore afterwards.
You'll open your hand up with it.
Oof. Now, out of curiosity, and this is, I think, something for me I'm really interested in. Whenever European swords, when you have both the true edge and the false edge, generally speaking, the true edge and false edge are the same. But when you start dealing with things like falchions, I just thought of it just a second ago, and I lost the Turkish style blades. Killage, they have false edges, but generally the false edge up near the top is not quite as sharp as the rest. Are those Japanese swords sharpened to the same level as the true edge versus the other side, or is it not so much?
Well, on the Cougar also your main edge is sharp, but the back edge, it's sharp, but it's sharp enough to cut you, to cut through your skin, not to cut a limb off or anything like that. So basically, if kind of like in European, if you're pairing, you can use the false edge to come back and hook. Will you use that, like the false edge on that, to come back if you could, like on the neck, and just slice the neck?
Right.
It's not extremely sharp, but it's sharp enough to give you a good cut.
Yeah, you're not going to run around your hand. I was just really curious because depending, again, some swords they'll sharpen the false edge more. And I saw him in chat. I don't see him here, but if you ever follow Daltrick Swords, he does so much, especially with falchions. You should check out some of his content because he's taught me a lot more about swords that aren't normally in my wheelhouse. But he does a lot with falchions. He does a lot with a lot of, I won't say katana, but he'll do Dao and Jian, things like that. More obscure-ish swords.
I would love to get one of those.
What, a Dao or Jian?
A Dao or a Jin.
Jin.
I got one.
But man, they're expensive.
I want one that, see, there's a couple swords. Here's another thing. We talk about swords we want to get. I have a lot of swords I want to get in the future specifically, but most of them are more European style. But there's a few that I would want that are not something that I would practice with, but things I want, and that's a Turkish Killage, and I want Jian so bad. But all the ones I see, for lack of better words, they feel cheap to me. They look cheap. They look.
Unfortunately, I love the decorations because the decorations on them are beautiful. But the problem is, the glue that they use in China for some reason for the fittings, it just don't hold up. Don't know why, but they don't.
Yeah, I know a guy that has a channel that focuses exclusively on Chinese women, and he had that complaint about 3 different times. So. Yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of a universal thing. It looks like it, at least for right now.
They should get some Gorilla Glue or something out there.
I really want one that looks as sad as it sounds. But you ever see the movie Jet Li does Fearless?
Yeah.
I think that's a much earlier style sword.
It's the 9-ring Dao.
What is it?
The 9-ring Dao.
That's what I want. I like that.
Yeah, I remember because it was probably the most iconic sword in the one. It was super heavy, and then I remember when Jet Li was fighting in him, and then I was like, "Is it actually cutting into his blade?" And it was so heavy that every time he parried and stuff, it was doing a dent. Which the rings are for so when you in a time of war, when you actually cut into someone really deep, then you can just put your fingers in the rings and pull it out because apparently it's got a lot of weight to it and all that. So I'm this thing looks pretty hefty because I got a Dao. I'm you probably notice I don't do as many doubles. I'm man, this thing is hard to control. And then not helping matters, I'm using a European Benson stance with it and everything. So one person commented on it. It was yeah, that's a Missa style. And I'm that might be why I'm this thing is it feels like a super, I guess if cutting with a sword would be a fine razor. This thing is kind of I guess an axe or something. It's got some power behind it, but controlling and torquing it, I'm just not there yet.
Yeah, I don't know. They're very unique, and they're something I would love to add to my collection, but I wouldn't use it for anything. Albeit funny anecdotal story, and something we can get. It's interesting with how so many, I'll say, Americans and whatnot love Japanese swords, and a lot of times I think it's because growing up, we didn't feel like we had a cultural sword. We do. It's a saber, but that's beside the point. Most people don't know that. We were bombarded, especially in the 80s. I'm old enough to know that, with the ninja movies and stuff. So we kind of gravitated towards Japanese swords as those are the swords that we really like. Some people moved on and really started liking Japanese culture, myself included. But one of the things I thought was so funny, and I have it in my closet, on the DVD case for Jet Li's Fearless, it's one of the iconic scenes where he's lunging forward with the sword. they transposed a katana into it, and he's not even holding it right. And I'm just sitting there going, "Oh, this was clearly done for an audience that doesn't realize what sword he's supposed to use." But people go, "Ooh, katana, I want it," and it's marketing material. I just thought it was
That's
funny.
ridiculous.
I'll have to send you guys a picture. I have it on there, and when you look at it, it's held to the side in a really weird way. I'm like, oh, this is painful to look at for anyone who likes swords. But, for an American audience, they looked at it and went, ooh, katana. And then I can only imagine how many people were like, well, where are they? That sword doesn't look like that. Matthew Jensen, hey, in chat is asking, what do you think is the weirdest sword? I mean, from historical, realistic perspective. Do you guys have? I have one right off the top of my head. Anytime I start getting into African-looking swords,
Oh yeah,
they are some of. I want some. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it's got almost like a crescent hook and then like a spike off the back as well.
something that starts with a U. Like
yeah,
you threw something. Because I remember it looked like it kind of had like a crescent shape with like connected to a blade, and then one of the ways that you actually use it is like you throw it, and then they had it on like Forge and 5, but I couldn't remember the name.
I can't remember the name either, but those are some of the strangest swords in my mind because they have some, and when I say strange, I mean they're unique. There's something so different about them, and the way that their warfare was done, I could see why they would use, especially if they like the wicker shields that were more traditional at that point. They could throw it in and rip through the wicker shields and hook through it. Those I think are interesting, and kind of going from the European side, the falques. Have you guys seen those?
Yeah, it's like
it's like a katana that's reversed on the long sickle. Yeah, the Thracian falques. Those are some of the strangest swords that I've seen, and I get the idea of being able to hook behind a shield but most of the falques, these ones I think kind of go into more of a strained. Mombella is what Matt Jensen said is for, I think that one particular sword, Mombell or something like that. Yeah, that sounds about right. But the falques, the idea they say about hooking sword, the curvature I don't think is as deep enough to facilitate hooking a shield, which is why I think they're very strange.
Yeah.
I think with the falques, I don't know if they were trying to hook the shield. I think they were just trying to get around it and hit the neck or the shoulders. Because if I recall, the Romans, after encountering people who were using that, the armor on their shoulders went up more. But that would be fun to test if you have a falques and you have a shield, just seeing how far around the shield you could get. A weird sword that I would love to get. I'd actually love to get two. I'm probably going to mispronounce this. It's the Macahuitl, something like that. It's the one from Mesoamerica that has it's the club and it has all the obsidian that goes around it.
Oh yeah.
I'd love to get two. One to just keep.
Maybe you're wrong. Maybe you're probably right. I thought it was.
No, I have no idea. Wait, how did you pronounce it?
I called it Macadal.
I thought it was Macahuitl.
You see, I could be totally off too, but I know it ends in like an L, so that's why I thought it was weird.
Yeah.
But we all know what you're referring to. Yeah.
I think Stalgren got one of those too, like a reproduction.
I want two. One to keep as just like a nice thing, but I also want to test one. I just don't know how durable they are. So I would love to test one against like a flesh analog and see what that does, and then test it against armor and see what that does, and then test it against a metal sword and see what happens. Because like that I don't know. Maybe there is someone who's done a test like that, but it's like, it's interesting because when the Spanish came over, that's probably exactly what was happening. Those things were probably being like, they're probably hitting armor, hitting steel weapons. Like, I would love to see what happens when those two things connect.
Several years ago, I mean, maybe 15, I was in New Zealand and I got to see some of the traditional Maori weapons. Those were real. Most of them were made of wood, or sometimes bone or something like that.
Yeah, like shark's teeth.
Yeah, like some of those were really, really like I think it's the patu. Or it's almost like a single hand, like a club, but it was almost like an oar shape. That thing was pretty interesting looking as well. So
Did you see the one with the swordfish where it had like a bunch of spikes out there? Coming?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
I was like, man, I think I'd rather just get hit with a regular sword. Like, that looks
Right.
painful.
Right. Yeah. No. Some of those were crazy. Alex, do you have any particularly strange weapons that I think are?
Yeah, actually, India's got some really strange ones. Like I don't know the name of it, but if it's the one where it's like the sword itself looks like a crescent moon. It's arched that much.
There's
It's crazy.
a North
tall one?
African version. No, there's a North African version too that looks very similar. I think it's called a shotel. Shotel.
Churchill or the Kopesh.
And it's
Kopesh
like,
is
how would you
inverse.
use that thing?
Or not inverse. Inverse would be the shotel is inverse.
Yeah.
The Kopesh goes out, and actually Kopesh is more like an axe. That's an Egyptian weapon. The Kopesh.
Yeah, the Kopesh. Yeah,
But I think it's a shotel, to be honest. I just know it's a shotel in North Africa. I don't know what the version. I know exactly which one you're talking about. I don't know if they call it something different. I'm sure they do, but
that thing is crazy.
yeah,
And it's long too. It's got a good length to the blade. It's like you literally would have to get close to somebody to use that with that thing having such, a bend in the blade.
a lot of the traditional sheik weapons are really interesting too. The chakram spinning blades, those are really interesting as well. Those I don't know how.
Any of you seen the Indian whip sword?
Arumi. Yeah,
Yeah.
I knew that was coming.
That thing is more of a danger to the person using it.
And like the first thing I thought was like, how are you supposed to block with it? So basically, this is offense only.
Yeah. That's the one-time act too. If you screw up,
Yeah, you're done at that
for sure.
point. I was trying to remember there. I know there's some very strange Japanese weapons that were insanely. I forget what they are. They're a form of like Nodachi or something like that, but they're insanely long, insanely long. And I'm not talking.
Nodachi. There's literally no set parameters to a Nodachi.
Maybe it's one.
There's one I think it's like 45 or 60 inches long. The blade.
It could be, and I think when you start because it's not a ceremonial, because of course if you start getting into like oak shot type 22 swords, very few of them were ever battle swords. They were ceremonial bearing swords. There were a few, but most of them were just these giant hulking beasts of things that weren't meant, we're carry them in a parade. We're not doing there. But some of the Nodachi from Japan, they're almost on that bearing sword level, but they weren't. They were used, and I always find them to be strange, because how can you be effective? Other than like the one-shot wonder, you swing the thing around, and if you get anyone, they're gone. But what's the recovery?
That was the point. It's like the Nagamaki. Okay, everybody thinks, because I think it's Cold Steel that did the Nagamaki with the 36-inch handle. That's the most infamous one. If you search it up online to buy one, that's the one with the 1045 blade. But there's actually no set standards for the Nagamaki neither. What I found out during the Edo period, people who liked the Nagamaki chopped the handles down because you can't use it in an urban setting with a 36-inch handle, because the blade's only anywhere from 27.5 to 32 inches long. That's it. But they would literally just hand these things to low-ranking infantry to stop cavalry and basically say, run down that hill and chop those horses' legs off. That's basically what they were doing. These guys had no skill, and they just have this Nagamaki running and charging on foot.
Low peasant indeed.
Yeah, your life those life wasn't worth a crap anyway, so they didn't care. It's the same, but it's the same with the Nodachi. There was no set parameters to those, but they just didn't hand those to anybody. Samurais carried those.
I find it funny the cultural differences between the large weapons, especially within history. You have the Japanese handing these Nagamaki to peasants, saying "run at these horses," whereas in the West, you have the German doppel soldier or whatever, the double paid soldiers, as we know them, the
Yeah,
Lance
double
Connect. I got a big sword. I'll do that for you, but you're paying me extra. Like they were much higher. They were mercenary level when you're starting to get into Zweihanders, and they were. But by the time Zweihander came into like the forefront of battle, it almost was starting to be in that transition period where the firearms, it was like a pike and firearm formation, and many Lance Connect had early firearms, the arbalist as well, the arbust, or however you pronounce it, from a very early period. And it was a weird transition because most of the foot soldiers either carried those early firearms or pikes. Pikes were still a thing that was being used because early firearms, it was expensive to carry around. If water got in the powder, it wasn't really good, so you need something else anyway. So there were pikes still. So you had that weird transition period between there. But I know Japanese, it's interesting when you study Japanese history, because when you go back further, my favorite period is Sengoku period in Japanese, the Warring States period, because that's more akin to the high medieval period in Europe. Very much that feudal anarchy kind of stage. When you start getting into what most people in modern times look as the height of the samurai culture, which it really wasn't. It was the Sengoku period, is the Edo period, when there was no war anymore and everyone started romanticizing the samurai and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
People still carried swords, but by that point, most of the warring states had been crushed, and everyone sort of waxed poetic about the samurai culture at that point. So it's more.
Well, they were also cut off from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So, and during that time period too, they were during the feudal wars to gain control. A lot changed for them during that time, immensely. And then once Tokugawa took over, everyone thinks we always know samurai were like these warriors. They had these castles and everything. But what people don't understand, some of them were actually extremely poor, and the shogun did that on purpose so they couldn't rebel.
He paid them in rice instead of giving them like money, because that guy will fight alongside the other people. So who would you like, trust, or like more? The guy who's bleeding with you, or the guy who basically tells you what to do? I think it was like one of the most famous stories that in Japan had, like Yoshitsune, where like the founders of like the samurai, like Minamoto no Yoritomo, like he had like a younger brother, Minamoto no Yoshitsune. He was the one that fought in the famous battles alongside with that monk. So like his elder brother ended up betraying and killing that dude because he was like more popular and getting more stuff. So basically, it's really messed up, but it shows how they do things.
It's weird how like throughout history, even in Europe, things like that were going on.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I found it really ironic because think about it. Like nobles were like, we want to have as many kids as humanly possible in case one of them dies in childbirth. It's like, you guys are all like 18 years old. How many kids do we have? 18.
Yeah.
How many kings can we have? Just one.
Just one. No, it only becomes a problem when they all start reaching maturity. It's like, I was really expecting at least half of you to die. This is an issue.
This is about to be
this is gonna be bad, right?
It's like, and during that time period, there was some messed up stuff, and people did some really horrific things to like get information out of people.
Yeah. Ooh.
But also, in a sense, too, if people were gonna go to battle, it took like almost like 6 months to a year to do it, because you're on foot, you got to bring everything. Now we just push a button,
right?
I
Nothing's worse
think,
as getting bad scout reports. You march your whole army and go, "Where's the enemy at?" It's like that scene from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we messed up.
Where's the enemy at? Where's the enemy at? Luke, I got a question for you since I see it back there. The Dane that you have in the back, that 18E, where'd you get that from?
This thing right here?
Yeah.
So I got on Amazon.
Is that the one that weighs like 12 pounds?
Well, they say it does, but I promise you, there's no way this thing weighs 12 pounds.
Yeah, that scared me when I saw 12 pounds listed on the site.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way. This thing, it feels to me like it probably weighs 5.
It's not too bad. Not too bad
Yeah.
at all.
I might have to get out and I'll get a scale and weigh it, and then I'll
Okay.
tell you how much it weighs, but it definitely doesn't weigh 12.
So we have a question, chat. What type of targets do you wish you could try out or were more available, affordable? I do have a video coming out soon. I found, thankfully, to another YouTuber. I'm going to practice the name first before I say it. But I found a place for tatami mats that is super cheap compared to where you can go elsewhere. We'll talk about that in the future. But what targets you wish you could try out that were more available, affordable? I want ballistic dummies.
Pretty much.
Oh, I'm going to try that. I'm going to try making some ballistic gel, and I'll let you all know how it comes out.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I really think that would be really cool to get more ballistic gel dummies in there. I think that would be neat for a target for me specifically. Here in East Coast US, tatami mats I wish you could get cheaper. I mean, I found one of the cheapest ones out there, and it's again, I didn't find, someone else found. They're an amazing channel. You should give them a follow too. Ashigaru Armory. If you don't follow them, you should. I'm sorry if I butchered it, but they now do Nihonto, sorry, not to acquisition out of Japan. So I like to follow his stuff because do I want one? If it calls to me, yeah, I do mostly European. But if I see one of his Nihonto that really speaks to me, I may pick one up just to have. But they are Nihonto. He does this Nihonto acquisition out of Japan. So if you don't, you should check out his channel. It's fantastic. Shout out to him. Sorry if I butchered the name. I asked him for a phonic spelling, and he's like, you got to put a little French onto it because of you spelled it out, and I didn't practice before I did it. But he pointed me towards a retailer that does tatami, and you have to buy it in bulk. You can either get a giant spindle, which is the cheapest option, and you have to roll it yourself, which would be nice if you want to do single roll mats, double roll, triple, whatever you want to do, which is nice. But if you get the rolled mat option, you can get like 21 of them, and it comes out to roughly $10 a mat, which is...
That's actually not bad.
It's not.
They're expensive as heck.
The last two videos, I just cut one the other day. I bought 2 of them. I've only done 2 full review videos for all my swords, and the reason why I haven't done more is because I need to get more tatami to do the cuts. I bought 2 of them, and after shipping and everything, because of course there was no free shipping because they're all imported, and that was before the tariffs went crazy. I don't know what it's like now. It essentially came out to like $28 a mat or something like that. It's really annoying that that's how expensive tatami mat is. But this is, you do have to come up with essentially $230 or whatever it is at one shot, but you'll get like 21 mats or something like that, and it comes out to like just about $10 a mat, which is the best price I've found anywhere. So I ordered a whole bunch of those. It is a little bit of a lengthy amount of time to get because, of course, they import from Japan. So if you make an order, you might be waiting a month or so, but yeah, it's still, that's a good price if you're willing to dump that, buying in bulk so you have them. It's still a lot cheaper than buying 1 or 2 at a time because you're going to be spending $15-20 a mat easy.
Definitely get as many cuts out of that thing as you can get.
There's times I kick myself when it's too low. I'm like, I just wasted a third of the mat.
Well, a little trick to it when it gets closer to the spike.
Mm-hmm.
I actually gave this pointer to Tone Deaf, and he appreciated it. Drop your body down more, and you'll be able to get that power cut through it. Because if you're up here and it's down here, it's going to be a lot harder. But if you drop your body down some, the cut's going to be a lot easier.
It's a good tip. Actually, it's a really good tip. Yeah, because I always, when I get down towards the spike, I want to keep as much of that mat as possible because every time you swing, it's like $3. $3.
Yep. And actually, I got to do another video of this for Tone Deaf, because I mentioned it when you had them on your live. Because I use beach mats. It's not the same, but it's close. And I double roll them. But that's the toothpick challenge.
Yeah.
And what you do is you take a toothpick and you put it in the tatami mat. Now, what you have to do is draw the sword, and after you draw the sword, you're cutting automatically. So you draw and then cut. And the whole purpose is how close can you get to that toothpick without cutting the toothpick?
I did not something like that, but I did something very similar where I was trying to practice. I think I did a short of it earlier. I was using pool noodles for this. Well, what I did was I took painter's tape and I wrapped it at specific intervals down the mat or down the pool noodle, and the idea was to shear through the painter's tape each time you cut as a way of making sure, you get your practice on, hey, if I'm aiming my sword, I want to hit, cut that painter's tape right through. And that was what I was trying to do in order to teach myself to hit where I'm swinging, not just swing at a target.
You can actually use a pool noodle with the toothpick in it too, though.
Yeah, well, yeah. Pool noodles are
really tricky.
They are. And as a backyard cutter, for all of us who do that, I always say to people, one of the hardest things I have with pool noodles is descending cuts, the Unterhaus underneath.
Oberhau is above.
Yeah.
Unterhau is below.
But the problem that you have with pool noodles is because they have no rigidity. If you are not perfect edge alignment and have a very sharp blade, they just tend to push themselves out of the way. I do Unterhaus a lot with pool noodles because the ascending cuts upwards, the force is there to shear through it. So I see A Freak in chat says aim small, miss small. Yeah, I mean, that's true. A lot of people, I think, don't, when they swing at a mat, and I don't know if you guys have done this, I know I have. When I swing at the mat, I'm not really, especially when I started, I'm not really looking at where I want to hit. I just want to hit the mat. As you progress, you start going, well, now you want to swing the sword and you want to know exactly where that sword's going to hit. You're not just aiming for center mass. You are specifically aiming for something very, very tiny. And if you ever get into fencing and you're one of those people who like to hand snipe, those are small targets too, and you got to learn to aim for those. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Hand sniping has like a natural enemy flat, where you basically get like a thumb grip and then you kind of like literally have your point at the enemy where you like, well, basically your grip would look like this, but like facing you.
Mm-hmm. That's the start of every one of my Zver house. Easy to come up and back around. I love it.
Yeah, I did a like sparring some months ago. They were like, man, they loved it when I because it's like, no, you're just gonna expose it like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, come on. Fool's guard. That's what I use all the time. Come on in. Come in.
I got that, man. I got like clubbed in the head. Not a good day.
False edge right off the side. So many people get confused when that Zverhau comes in. Like, they don't expect it to whip around that quick and whack you on the side. For those who are watching, we're talking from German longsword. It's one of the attacks, one of the, what is that? The master cuts. You take the sword, you come up, and you're facing the sword like my thumb. That's the point. And people would think you're ready for a thrust, but instead you whip your hand around and you strike with the false edge. It's yep.
And then do like that.
Yeah. It looks like if you're looking from the true edge, people are getting ready to guard up on the one side, and then you flip the sword around and whack them on the other side. It's great for whacking the other side of the head. It's a fun cut. It's a real fun cut to do. So
the rest you can like do some cuts, but most people they're just gonna go for like the slash. Like, I don't even care if I hit anything. I just want to give this dude a hard time.
Man,
it's like Street Fighter with like that dude that just keeps doing the Hadoken. It's like you're not even hitting anything. I know, man, but you hate it, don't you?
You hate it. You can't break it. Right. Absolutely. Another question. I know I want to be mindful of everyone's time. I appreciate everyone being here. Does anyone have a few more minutes yet, and then we'll wrap up and go from there? Are you good? How
Oh,
you
yeah, I
guys
had like
looking?
2 weird swords because I don't think I said anything.
Yeah.
Like one was the Chinese hook sword because it has like so many different points, and I was like, if you really don't know what you're doing, this can probably end up hurting you. It's got like that knife on the end on the handle where you can like stab somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That bit where you can basically punch someone where you can hook with. If you get like 2 swords, you can hook with the people, but it's like it looks really hard to do. And then I'm just imagining like losing the centrifugal force, and then you just end up hitting yourself.
I love Chinese hook swords, though. I do. I love those things.
Chinese swords are so funny to me because some of the weirdest swords in existence, I think, come from Chinese swords. Obviously, they work because they lasted for a long period of time. But when I look at them, anytime I look at any of the ring dowels, the ones with the multiple rings down, I'm like going, what use is this? And with their different glaives, they were there for a purpose. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah, everybody that doesn't know
yeah,
usually ends up getting folded.
yeah, right. Probably I'm one of those guys going, what in the world is this guy doing? Then I end up dead on the battlefield while I'm trying to figure out this weird sword. Matt Jensen has another great question, and this one's funny. What about the worst fantasy sword? I'm going to jump on here because I don't want anyone else, and I'm looking at you, Alex, as you might know this one too. Do you guys ever remember those old, terrible with a loving way, the sword and sorcery movies from the 80s? I'm trying to remember the name of it. But,
Yeah, I do.
My old sword, or my old thing that got me into it. Anyone remember Highlander?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that movie. That's
Okay,
an
you
awesome
remember
I know
the
which
80s
one
movie,
already.
the one
The
with
Kurgan?
the spikes on? Yeah, Dragon's
Yeah.
sword. I hate that sword. And,
Everybody in the longsword hates that, man.
and here's the thing. There's weirder ones. There's weirder swords in fantasy. Like, there's this one triple blade sword in fantasy that shoots a blade out. I'm not even...
Talon from that movie?
I'm not even dealing with that. I'm looking at a sword that might be more plausible, and it's the Highlander one. And it would snap blades with those little...
Yeah, and he puts it together.
Yes.
That thing so would break.
Oh.
Actually, a fun fact, if you watch the end battle scene,
Uh-huh.
when he puts his arms out and he drops the sword, because he's absorbing all the knowledge,
Oh, yeah.
the dragon's head on his sword snaps off and rolls off. Yeah, it breaks.
I've held some replicas. It feels pretty cheap stuff.
I see Daltric's sword said most of the silly Dal, as he puts, come from the late, is that Quan? Yeah, Queen, yeah, or Jean, I don't know how to pronounce that. Someone Q-I? Ching Dai, is that how it is? Sorry. I was looking at it weird. They're not military swords, so they would have came in at a later period, I guess, maybe ceremonial. Thank you guys for correcting me. My terrible pronunciation. That would have been awful.
Can I come in with a hot take of the fantasy sword that I hate? I don't know if this is the one I hate the most, but I do dislike it a lot. And that is, I know that a lot of people are going to not like this. I think the Conan the Barbarian sword is hideous.
Yeah. And it's also really unwieldy.
Get off my show.
No. He's got a point. Hang on. Let me interject here, please. Okay, the Conan sword is very iconic. We can all agree on that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I gotta admit, let's say for a functioning sword, it would suck.
Yeah, the handle's this big.
Well, it's
Yeah,
not
like,
that.
when you
Your
were talking
blade is
about,
only
like-
like this long.
Yeah, but
Yeah, when
it's
you're
like
talking
this
about the
much of a
cylinder handles in the
blade.
beginning,
What are you gonna do with that? It's actually not practical. It really
If I
is
was
like a
Conan and I
functioning
found
sword.
that sword in the cave like he did, I would have just been like, huh, and I would have left. I just would have left the sword.
because you were talking about like the cylinder handles for like the long swords
Yeah.
in the beginning. Like my dad had, not my dad, my friend's dad had like a replica of it. I was like, dude, this thing is actually like not at all like how I envisioned it to be. was
those
like,
round handles did more harm to European swords in the 80s and 90s than anything else. That's why everyone loves katana. And I love katana too. Don't get me wrong. I have 4 of them laying over here. But when in the early 80s and 90s, whenever you went and tried to look at a European sword, they were always garbage compared to katana that had this tradition behind them that they maintained for centuries. You know, as most know, like historical European martial arts is more of a reconstruction from the treaties, because we didn't maintain it, because we finally went, hey, this thing goes boom, and we like this better, so we're not, you know, I mean, we still carried them, but they became more like a dress accessory. Fun fact, George Washington collected swords, and that was like a big fashion statement. He was always collecting swords, and he had a whole bunch of
his
them.
favorite was the trifoil.
He had a small sword that had a triangular looking blade, that came from London. And actually, it was really funny at the time. If you ever go to the Mount Vernon estate,
So we're rebelling against Britain. It's like, where that sword
they
come
talk
from?
about
Where
it because this sword was rare, meaning that while the war was going on and Congress said no trade with London, somehow or another, George Washington managed to get a sword that was fashionable only in London. And how he got it, I tend to wonder. He probably did a little black market. He's like, so this is popular in London, right? Okay. And that's what he got. But there was supposed to be no sales with London. So how he got it, we don't know. Because he technically, probably legally, shouldn't have been able to get it because there was trade embargoes. Yet he got a sword that was fashionable only in London, among the elites. And so, yeah, he wore that as one of his famous, I think his inauguration painting had him with this small sword. But fun. I just thought that was neat. But he collects swords. So he's awesome president for that. But it became more of a dress thing. That's, you know, it was part of a gentleman's attire. You had a sword on your hand. And I think we should go back to that, to be honest.
Oh, I would love for all of us to go back to carrying swords. I think those are, to me personally, I think those were better times.
Yeah.
But to go to, like you were saying, like in the 80s, all European swords had round handles. And really, when you look at, they're really trying to base them off of fantasy a lot of the times, too. And I think that's why we had that so much. It didn't start changing until, what, the 90s?
Very early 90s, Angus Trim and Tinker Pierce really started changing things in the early 90s. Yeah, with and even the whole idea of blade harmonics started coming around that point. That whole philosophy, if I remember correctly, is around early 90s. I forget the French scholar who wrote the book on it. Essentially, I think it was early 90s. You know who would know this? Daltric Swords. If you don't follow him, he's in chat now. You should follow him. He does a whole bunch on that blade harmonics. But still, yeah, I do agree. A lot of it came from those fantasy movies, the Conan the Barbarian. That's why I won't say anything about Conan. I loved Conan. Kind of what got me not into swords. Lord of the Rings really got me into it, but still, I loved Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer. Let me show you what real strength is. The person jumps off the ledge. That's awesome. All right. Yeah, that's how nerdy I am. I love it.
Does like sci-fi stuff count? Like towards the fantasy?
It depends where you get to. You know, one of my favorite sci-fi, and I don't know, I'm not a huge sci-fi guy. Dune. I love Dune.
Yeah.
Like all the books and the idea of being able to block bullets, so therefore they still use essentially short swords. I'm like, that is fantastic. I love Dune for that reason.
Yeah, I was thinking more like Metal Gear.
Oh man,
there was like, yeah, like Metal Gear Rising is like I think the black sheep of the franchise. But there was this one guy who had like these pair of swords that he basically would combine to make like a giant scissors.
Oh,
and I'm like, so this was literally more effective when you were using like them like separately to dual wield. And so he like, after you get him down to like his last bit of health, he's like, I'm gonna split you two. And I'm like, but that's worse. Because now it just makes it like one weapon, so you dodge it and it pretty much like takes away literally all the tactical advantage.
It doesn't get any better as you get to modern fantasy. One of the things, again, we'll go back to Lord of the Rings because fantasy is a fun thing. I loved Weta Workshop's stuff. While I didn't like the round handles, but look at Weta Workshop back in the early 2000s, what they were trying to do with more realistic-looking swords. Then go to the newer ones with the Hobbit with the super fantasy dwarven swords that are essentially weird squares with like a star on the end.
Yeah,
Like, they got really weird later on, and fantasy itself got really weird. So
It did.
I don't know. It's crazy. But I don't want to keep you guys any longer. You guys all have been fantastic. I appreciate all of you coming on and being able to chat about swords. I thank you for the chat as well. If you guys don't follow these guys, or if you're watching this after the fact, give all of them a subscription because they all are fantastic. They all do amazing stuff. And, you know, you'll just really want to go out there and pick up a sword and go in your backyard and then join us. And then we'll have more channels to follow who do fun sword stuff. So to let everyone go, why don't we let everyone go around? You can tell people where to find you or if you have anything fun to say. Let's go ahead and start. Tempest, go ahead you first.
I'm at a Tempest Blade Argus. I basically do like a lot of shorts. I have been dropping off on like the compilation videos, but like for Halloween, I'm basically like gonna like turn on the compilations back for the rest of the year. Like I'm planning to like do like a super blood because like to me the best month of the year is always Halloween. I want like pumpkins. I want like all that stuff. I'm like gonna try to fit it up this year.
Excellent. Awesome. Yeah, give him a follow. I love Tempest shorts. A lot of the stuff that he does, I tend to shamelessly copy because he's got some serious amazing cuts. I've still never been able to do that drop static challenge thing you guys, KF1 did and you did as well. I can't. I still haven't been able to successfully do it.
Oh, the one with like the perfect static and then it has...
with the bottle, you put one on top so it falls into the one you cut. Yeah, I've never been able to do it yet. I keep practicing, but it didn't work. Luke, what about you? Where can you find you?
Yeah, so my channel is Emblem Arms. It's just general sword content. I'll do some shorts. I'll do some mini reviews. Just whenever I happen to get a new sword, which is fairly frequently, I'll do something about it. So hopefully I can help some people decide if a sword is helpful for them or something that they want to pursue or not. Just trying to give people more information than what I had when I first started. Also, I don't know if we want to do this at all, Jonathan, but for the first, 3, 5, however many people that want to contact you for like a free book or something, we could probably set something up. So, and then for Alex and Tempest, if you guys are interested, be happy to send you guys some as well. So if anyone has like little kids or nephews or something and they want a sword picture book or you just want more sword content in your life, I'd be happy to just give you guys one.
Awesome.
I might hit you up on that.
What we'll do for this, since Luke so generously offered, is we'll do like we did earlier. You make a post on your YouTube channel. Send me the link. I'll put it in the description, and you can randomly select your winners from there for this book. I was gonna say that sounds awesome because I would love to read books like that. And yeah, definitely check out his books. His picture books, especially if you got kids, get them to love swords as much as we do. So I have someone to pass swords on to. It's kind of the whole thing. So that's where we're at. Alex, my friend, tell people where they can find you.
Okay, so you can find me over on Gargoyle's Blade. I will say sometimes when you type that in, you'll get gaming. So you just got to, it's capital G and capital B, Gargoyles, plural, Blade. And my channel, I do Japanese sword reviews, Japanese weapons. I try to actually find some historical weapons online that people don't know about. A little bit of history. And if I get them off the ground, I'm planning on doing short films with swords. So that's only if I get it off the ground. I've been trying to do that now for almost a year.
I was going to say, I saw a skit you did with, I think it was your wife, right? About the what weapons for the apocalypse. I thought that was
why women live longer.
Yeah, why women live longer.
I don't.
That was really funny. I thought that was great. So you should check it
Yeah,
out.
and I have actually a lot of other ideas. It's just trying to get it off the ground. Like one of them, it only requires 2 of us for it. The other short film would actually acquire a lot of people because I want to incorporate different cultures with different swords from different time periods. So that's kind of like trying to get it right.
Right. No, I
Find
get
the
it.
right people.
One of the hardest things is getting any project off the ground. I have such a backlog of reviews I need to do, and it's always the as I think Matt Jensen said in his video once, and I love his, and I agree with it. It often requires a combination of the motivation, good weather, and just having the idea. And generally, I only ever have 2 of the 3, and you need all 3 in order to do what you need to do and get stuff done. And oddly enough, they seem to expect me to work days, and I don't get it. Instead of play with swords, I don't understand.
Right?
So, that doesn't seems wrong.
That's
to
because
me.
those people haven't played with the sword yet and figured out how fun it is.
Oh, I know, right? Actually, I sent a
Not the
picture.
covenant. We can't do that.
Can't do that yet. Yeah, right. Hopefully people will watch stuff like this and be interested in swords. That's why we kind of want to let people see, hey, this kind of thing is fun. I've spoken with multiple people. Like my father's one who he's in his 60s now, and he does a lot of carpentry stuff for me. He's like, I don't understand why I would want one sword over another, and I getting these higher end swords. And one thing I have a thing coming up. Okay, you know what? I'll give a little bit of a thing. I have a kind of a sponsored video will be coming up to review some Witcher swords from the Witcher series. And I love the Witcher series, so anyone who's played those are really cool. And I said how I wouldn't buy this myself because I want swords I can use in competition. And in all likelihood, if there's fantasy elements to a sword, despite that Witcher swords are more historically plausible, not really fantasy, there's a good chance that they would just be, disqualified in any competition. So I wouldn't buy it myself. But if you're somebody who just wants to feel like Geralt and go out back and cut water bottles to Tommy Matt's pool noodles, it might be a lot of fun to do. So you don't have to get into swords specifically because you want to join competitions or you want to do this, that. It's just fun to do. Like
It is.
I brought one of this sword right over here, which was one of the first ones I did, the Swordier SM 1030, which is Type 16A, over to a friend's cabin, and I just brought a bunch of swords, like a whole bunch of swords with me, and we were all sitting around a campfire. I set up my cutting stand, we were all cutting, and the one guy or the one woman's husband kept using this sword, and I'm like, do you want to use a different sword? And he's just holding it. He's like, no, I really like this one. And every time this thing would cut through a target, he just got the silliest grin on his face. I looked over at his wife. I'm like, it's like watching a man fall in love right there. He's like, I don't know, it just feels right to me.
Never looks at me that way.
Yeah, right. Might have caused some marital issues later on down the road, but yeah. She's like, you got to send me the link. I'm going to have to buy it for him for his birthday or something, because that was one of the first times he actually got to cut her as well. And she's like, oh, I see why you like this. This is just fun. And we were just cutting water bottles and things like that.
You just created a Viking family.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
It's good exercise, too. It's a lot of fun. So if you're interested in doing these things, you can. One thing I always kind of highlight for people is just respect the thing you've got, because they are weapons. Like anything, they can be dangerous, but it's only as dangerous as the person who is being stupid with them. You could do the same thing with a baseball bat, a crowbar, anything like that. If you're doing something stupid, you're probably going to get hurt. I didn't get to tell my I got hurt story in my early 20s. Maybe I'll save that for a later one. But I was doing something stupid that I shouldn't have done, and it can cause issues. But if you use it the right way, it can be a lot of fun. It feels good to do. And yeah, join us. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Once again, thank you,
Thank you
chat.
for having us.
You guys are all fantastic. I love all your guys' work. So you guys are great. Thank you, chat. And we'll see you next time. See you later, everybody.
See you guys.
Later.